What is it about habits? One of my favorite books of all time is Mason Curry's Daily Rituals, a book all about artists and creators and scientists and thinkers, how they worked, what they did, and what their sort of daily regimens were. Some of them are really disciplined, some of them are completely all over the place, some of them are eclectic and weird and unusual, and some of them are really about creating the optimal opportunities and the optimal sort of environment for their work. I find it super interesting to look at how other people put it together, how they made their lives work, and that sort of gets me into what my daily habits are, and I thought it might be fun for me to share with you guys what I do on a daily basis. I've had routines that started at 5 a.m. I've had routines that started at around 6:30. Right now I'm getting up around 7:30. These days it's starting out with Susanna gently coming in the room, because she's always up way before me. She's an early riser, and she pokes her head into the bedroom and says, "Adrian, do you want to go for a walk?" And that's what we've been doing these days. I have a horrible time waking up. I'm not even going to show you waking up for me because it's just a total nightmare. I am grumpy and groggy, and it takes me about an hour and a half really to get going. I've gotten into a real rhythm of waking up and then making sure I have coffee, number one. That is the alpha and the omega. And then it's a pretty consistent breakfast. I eat the same thing pretty much every day. I'll go for like months eating the same thing. I like removing as many decisions from my day as possible. If I can have everything automated. So the night before I'll make my coffee so that everything is ready to go and I can just basically plop down in my half dead state, enjoy my coffee, eat my breakfast, and read a book. I try to avoid looking at my email. I try to avoid getting into any kind of communication of any kind, and I certainly avoid looking at the news in general and social media first thing. It's an energy suck. It just puts me in a bad space, and if something's negative or if I see bad news or anything else, that sets the tone. I find that first hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning is the tone setter, and that dictates how the rest of the day is going to go. If I get that part right, I know I can have a fantastic rest of the day. Either reading, listening to a podcast, or some other slow, gentle inputs. I like to read books that are inspiring. I like to read biopics about inspiring people, books that sort of will give me ideas about how to structure my life and improve myself and improve my situation, improve my environment. That's how I like to start. And then there comes a point where I can feel that energy rise. I want to move on. I'm excited to get started on my day. I'm ready to get into the work. If I have been on top of it, I will have been in Trello. I will have decided in advance what my activities for the day are going to be. To-do list, things that have to get done. And one thing I've changed is, instead of making goals about like write this much, finish this queue, or do X, Y, Z, what I do now is I go into my calendar and I just block out a certain amount of time in order to do a certain thing. However much I get done, it doesn't matter as long as I put focused, concentrated effort on that one thing. So when I get up to the studio after I've got that sort of energy rising, I know that I don't have to make any decisions. My brain can just be purely in that sort of almost meditative, pre-trance-like state where I'm excited about the potential, I'm excited about ideas. And I don't have to worry about anything else. I look at what my calendar says, I look at my Trello cards and I go, okay, first things first, this is what I'm doing. I usually structure it so that I'm doing something easy to get the brain going. It's amazing how much your mood and your ability to get momentum and to be productive is based on those little wins, that psychology of being like, I feel good about this, I want to continue. You got that little dopamine rush of having finished something and gotten into it. That reward system is really important, so I really try to work that in. So that first batch of work, it might be starting with emails and getting a few sort of admin things out of the way, or just diving straight into the creative work. Usually takes me to about noon. At noon, I work out. Okay, I have to apologize for this. I know it's incredibly self-indulgent, but I wanted to show you something of my workout, and the normal workout that I do is not really that interesting. And I was getting this great lighting set up, and it's so cinematic, and I thought, oh my god, this looked great in slow motion. Oh, look at that technique. That's awful. Anyways, please forgive me. But hey, come on. Look at this. This is the money shot. Come on. And then we actually do the workout in my studio here. Some of the conventional thinking around this kind of stuff is that you want to separate your workspace. You don't want to have your work be in the same spaces where you relax. You don't want to have where you meditate be the same place where you cook your dinner. I found that mixing for me doesn't really have any kind of negative downside. I really like working out in the studio because I like the feeling up here. It's got a nice open space, so there's actually plenty of room for both of us to put out our yoga mats and do our workouts. So music is a big part of it. I play upbeat techno when we work out. It just puts you in that mindset and gets you ready to go. And we follow a very specific routine for our workouts. This is our Bible. It's Body Weight Strength Training by J. Cardiello. So what's cool about this is there's these great diagrams that show you how to do all the different moves based on body weight strength training. So no equipment required, which is awesome. You can do it anywhere. When I'm on the road, I can do it in the hotel room. It's amazing. You know, it's high intensity interval training. You're going to be done in about 20 minutes, which it sounds like not very much, but you're really, really working hard in those 20 minutes. That also means it's hard to say you don't have time. That's one of the key factors of this too, is no matter how busy I am, I still have some time for my workout. The workout being done, it's time for lunch, which is, again, probably pretty much the same thing. I either have leftovers from the night before or I have an egg sandwich on toast, and that's kind of what I eat every single day. Again, it keeps it simple. The least amount of decisions I have to make in a day just keeps my brain free for that creative work. Lunch being done, it's back for another round of work. And the afternoon looks much like the morning did. Again, it's this blocked out kind of way of working where I know what I'm working on for a given amount of time and then I task switch and go out to something else. So it's important, of course, to remember to take breaks, to let your brain have a bit of a moment, release what you were doing before, and then move on to something else. Sometimes I'll spend a bit of time reading a book, but one of my favorite activities to take a break and clear the mind, relax, and refocus is to sit at the kit and play the drums. One thing I like to do is and this doesn't happen very often right now, but it still happens a little bit with social distance walk, but if company comes calling and I'm not on an insane deadline, I will make time for that friend. Because to me, conversation, being with friends, having that social time is so valuable to me. The composing life is pretty solitary. And although I'm a super lone wolf and I really like being alone, I also really like being with people. I'm sort of like, I need that balance. So when it wasn't pandemic times, I would oftentimes just sort of like bolt out of the studio at random times if I just felt the need to get out. I would always sort of give myself that opportunity, again, not being on a super tight deadline, to go out and walk around the city or to go to a pub or a cafe and just to relax and people watch, or best case scenario, meet up with a friend and just talk. I love conversation, one-on-one, talking about very deep subjects, getting into it, solving the world's problems essentially. So that's one thing I'm thinking when we get back to normal and we can see people and hang out again together, that's going to be a major priority for me, is building those social times into the weekly habits, right? Because there's daily habits and I think there's weekly habits. Every month I'm doing a creative day where I'm just like not working on anything that's work related. I'm just sort of doing a pattern interrupt so that I keep myself fresh and engaged and, keep the brain from stalling out. Sometimes habits can be a bad thing, right? You get into a certain groove and it just becomes the same old, same old. It becomes boring. It doesn't have the same beneficial effect as it did in the beginning. So sometimes it's good to change it up and adopt an entirely new habit. So as my working day draws to a close, it comes to the point where probably one of the most important habits that I have comes into play, and that is setting up a new Trello board with what I'm going to do tomorrow. I pre-plan all this stuff. I determine what's important, what's priority. I figure out what the things that need to go out the door are and what I'm going to be spending my time on when I wake up tomorrow and I start my day and I get to work. I'm not wondering what to do. I'm not overwhelmed by choice and possibility. I just get after it. So that's pretty much the working day, and then it's making dinner if it's my turn. We sort of alternate days, Susanna and I, and then it's, we're either watching some TV or we're reading or listening to a podcast or whatever else. And we have game nights and stuff like that too, where we switch out of the normal thing that we're doing and try something completely different. I'm a huge believer in getting good sleep, and even though I suffer from a bit of early onset insomnia, I still go to bed around 10 o'clock every night to make sure that I get that 8 hours. I just don't function person without it, and I think that I have better ideas, clearer thinking. I get to solutions on problems much faster than if I try and push through. There are those times when there is a deadline looming and there's no choice but to push through. I always have to get some sleep. Some sleep is always necessary, but you know, every once in a while, if that cycle demands it, it'll be much less, but when it's possible, the 8 hours is absolutely a must for me. Here's some habits that I used to have and I no longer have. Either didn't stick, or I wasn't seeing a tremendous amount of benefits, or maybe I saw benefits for a while and then kind of dissipated. Meditation. I tried meditating. I did it for about 2 weeks. I just didn't find much of an uptick in anything. It was like maybe a 2% improvement overall, but the effort far outstripped the amount of improvement. I'm not a very anxious person as a matter of course, so I just didn't find that it really helped very much. Maybe I did it wrong. I don't know. Gratitude journaling. That is something that I really felt was very useful, and I got a lot out of it. And I don't know, for me, I guess what happened was that I did it for quite a long time, maybe about a year or so, and it just sort of became automatic to sort of see the good in all things and to look at those silver linings, and in a state of gratitude most of the time. So one habit I guess I'm trying to do that sort of stems out of that gratitude is be more intentional, more aware of my reactions to certain things. And the way that I'm thinking about it now is, who do I want to be? That's the way I'm thinking about it. Who is the person that I want to be? What does that look like? I have an imaginary person in my head. It's someone I'm trying to become or trying to be all the time. So now I'm trying to be very aware of my reactions to things and always ask myself, is this what the person you want to be would do? Dream journaling is another one that I used to do pretty consistently. I have about 10 years worth of dream journals. My dreams are crazy, fantastic, super hallucinatory, very adventurous, extremely exciting. They're not your boring standard average, I went to the store and the store owner had a green hat instead of a blue hat kind of dreams. So they're very entertaining and very interesting. And for many years I would write them down. First thing in the morning I'd wake up and I'd be dream journaling, and it was great. I just fell out of the habit of doing it. It's weird, like that's the one thing with habits. I guess they have to provide a pretty good outcome for you. They have to be worth it. So for me, working out, absolutely super worth it. I see so many benefits. When I fell out of the habit because of an injury in the fall, boy, like it was noticeable very quickly that that workout really did a lot to keep me feeling good. Good energy, no back pain, no pains whatsoever otherwise, you know, it made a huge difference. So even though I sometimes have to force myself and to be disciplined about doing the workout, the benefit is so great that I'll always come back to it. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where, unless I'm very badly injured, and I'm not going to work out. It's just one of those things that'll stick. So I'm very curious about, what do you do on a consistent basis that you find really makes your days great, makes your life enjoyable, keeps you productive, consistent, and happy? What are some of the habits you wish you had? What do you want to do and what do you want to change? And how are you going about doing that? I'd love to hear, so hit me in the comments. I hope you found this enjoyable and interesting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.